To order the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for December 18th, 2018. Roll call, Mr. Veeder.
Leyland,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Eichmann,
Here.
Schwartz,
Here.
White.
Here, have a moment of silence to reflect on our actions of the day. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have the agenda received as proposed or as amended?
Second.
There is an amendment under the consent agenda, B1. It should be, it's a new application, not a renewal.
With that, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comments, anybody from the public like to comment about anything other than what's on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to claims and payments. Payments for the county. Susan?
County's expenditures this week total $329,811.98, 329,811.98.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on this item? This is a resolution. Please answer your name is called.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Resolution to approve the expenditures for Country View Care Facility.
Country View's expenditures that will be paid this week total $32,121.52, 32121.52. We're still holding approximately $565,000 for October and November bills to the county. Country View had approximately $473,000 in their account yesterday.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? This is a resolution. Please answer your name is called.
Little,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is a presentation for the fiscal year financial review presented by Susan Deaton, County Finance Director.
Rory, can you put my screen up? So Amanda was here, Miranda was here last week to present the audit report. And I'd just like to give you a more detailed overview of FY18 departmental revenues and expenditures and how we compared to budget. This is a graph that shows our budgeted operating revenues by source for fiscal year 18. So property taxes represented 55% of our budgeted revenues. Other county taxes, which includes local option sales tax, the casino gambling tax, made up 7%. Intergovernmental revenues was the next largest source at 25%. And the county received approximately $63.5 million, or just slightly over 100% of our amended budgeted revenues of $63.2 million. We received approximately 99% of property and other county tax revenue for FY18. This was pretty much the average that it has been for the past last 5 years. All other sources of revenue exceeded budget except for miscellaneous revenues, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And so this is just a graph that shows total budget compared to actual by source of revenue. Then we get into revenues by department, and this is just for the major governmental funds, not including debt service and capital projects. Doesn't include some of our smaller special revenue funds that I'll talk about. We'll have a graph of those later. So looking at revenues by department, just to point out some significant variances, the treasurer's office exceeded revenue by $421,000. That's largely due to interest on investments, which exceeded budget by approximately $295,000. The Health Department exceeded by $181,000. And that was, the Health Department went through a major restructuring last year, but they had some grant revenue that we did not budget for because at the time we weren't sure that we were going to get those grants. So overall, their grant revenue exceeded budget. Mental health charges for services exceeded budget by approximately $172,000. That's 041 mental health. They exceeded their budget revenue $184,000. The engineer, and there's two lines, engineer and roadway construction, 050 and 051, exceeded their budget. Combined, the excess was about $300,000. Approximately $76,000 was road use taxes, which were higher than anticipated. And then intergovernmental revenues, approximately $161,000. This is funding for federal highway, bridge, and road construction. Conservation, you'll notice, has a deficit of $925,000. That's a little misleading. What happened is we budgeted revenue that we were going to receive from the Friends of Hartman to reimburse for the Hartman Reserve construction project. In our audited financial statements, we include the Friends of Hartman as a blended component unit. And so we reclassified that revenue to make it an operating transfer, and that's why that looks like that.
Susan,
We-
I have
yeah.
a question. You had mentioned the mental health and disability service at the 120%.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is
There were some charges for, I think that was a change and something I need to check with Karin about that, specifically what that was, but.
thank you.
The other reason conservation is revenue is low, we anticipated more revenue for FEMA reimbursement on the trail repairs. That project ended up not being as much as we anticipated, and plus it carried over into this current fiscal year. Looking at expenditures, this was our operating expenditure budget by service area. The largest service area is public safety and legal services. That's the sheriff, attorney, consolidated communications, so that makes up 30%. Physical health and social services makes up 13% of the budget. This year that included, we amended our budget to include $2 million for Country View. Long-term debt and roads and transportation, about 11%. Debt is a larger part of our budget due to our rapid repayment schedule that we have. And then the various other service areas, a smaller percentage. Looking at actual expenditures by service area as a percent of total budget, you'll see capital projects was only 65%. That's because we had several projects we anticipated finishing in FY18 that carried over into FY19, including the public safety radio system. Physical health and social services is a little low at 84%. That's because we only needed $1.5 million for Country View instead of the $2 million we budgeted for. And that also is due to the health department restructuring, and they came in under budget. Looking at departmental expenditures by class, and again, we're just looking at the four major governmental funds: general, mental health, rural, and secondary roads. Salaries and benefits make up over half of that, 56%. Operating expenses are 33%, and capital, equipment and so forth, 11%. And then the chart down below shows how we did compared to budget. Looking at, and then I broke it down by the various classes, so just looking at salaries and benefits to start with, the sheriff's office, came in under budget, a little over $568,000. That is mainly due to the turnover in that department, the transition to civilian detention officers, and so, you know, there were vacancies during the year as the turnover, as new employees, deputies, or civilian detention officers come in, they're at a lower on the pay scale. And then we don't have health insurance for several months as those employees transition. The health department, going down to 019 of $550,000 under, and that is due to the restructuring in the health department. So that was a significant change. So overall, salaries and benefits were under budget by almost 1.8 million. Operating expenditures, some of the significant variances, the sheriff's office was under budget by $277,000, mainly in the health services and food line items. You'll see health department was actually exceeded their budget in operating expenditures, and that was due to those grants that we didn't budget for. Grant expenditures were higher than budget, but also grant revenues were higher than budget. So those offset each other. The engineer's office, scrolling down to 050 and 051, was $580,000 under budget. That was mainly in their road asphalt supply line item. Board supervision was under budget. $500,000 was what we had left that we budgeted for Country View. And then we were under in insurance also. So a total of about $2.2 million under budget in operating expenses. Capital expenditures, the engineer, both 050 and 051. 050 is their capital equipment, was under budget $170,000. Due to savings on a variety of capital equipment, they had budgeted almost $1.6 million. We had the 3 motor graders and various other capital equipment, but some of that was less than we had anticipated. Roadway construction, that's mainly just due to the timing of their road and construction projects. Conservation, we had remaining, and that was mainly due to the FEMA trail repairs that were less than anticipated, plus carried over into the current fiscal year. So a total of $868,000 under budget there. These are our other special revenue funds. We have REAP, Recorder's Record Management, Jail Commissary, and Conservation Trust. And this just shows their revenues and expenditures and the amount that we either increased or decreased those fund balances. REAP, we increased fund balance $45,000, ending with $219,000. Recorder's Record Management, they did a digitization project in FY18, and they used up some of their fund balance, so they decreased $10,000, ended with fund balance of $23,000. In the jail commissary, we increased the fund balance there, $98,000, ended with $532,000. We do have some capital projects that are scheduled to come out of the jail commissary this current fiscal year, using some of that fund balance. Conservation Trust decreased fund balance by $15,000 and ended with $18,589. Long-term debt. The county's total outstanding debt as of June 30th was $24,175,000 compared to $31,725,000 in FY17. So we decreased our total debt. As you can see, the principal and interest payments going from FY19 to FY26. With our current debt, we're going to pay off both the solid waste and the Washburn sewer bond in FY19. So that's the decrease there. Those are not, we don't tax for those. But in FY20, we have 2 road and bridge CIP bonds that will be paid off, plus the public safety radio bond. And that is the significant decrease going from FY20 to FY21. We are looking at bonding for the Cedar Wapsie Bridge, though, so that will start in FY20, the payments. This is our debt by category. Outstanding debt by category, 64.5% is in roads and bridges, 19% capital improvements, and 11% is the EMA. The revenue bonds is the solid waste and the Washburn sewer, which will be paid off on this current year. In our capital projects funds, we didn't have any roads and bridges bond proceeds that we were spending. We had the public safety radio system. We spent $1.8 million of that in FY18. We have a balance there down at the ending fund balance of $1,092,000. We plan on spending that this year. The public safety radio system should be completed. We're using approximately $340,000 for the consultant. We've spent some of that in FY18 for the consultant on the public safety software system. In our CIP fund, we had a variety of projects. The larger ones, the courthouse ceiling and lighting, which it carried over into this current year. The courthouse chiller, that's complete, $589,970. In the jail parking lot, we spent $554,000. That carried over into the current fiscal year. But all of those projects should be complete. And then the only remaining project we have in there is the Pinecrest bathrooms, which are currently in progress. We have $500,000 in our technology capital projects fund. This has been designated for the tax administration software. With our change, our new contract, we also have the assessor has designated $250,000 in their fund balance for that. They still plan on using that. So the total contract is $411,000. We had a $60,755 annual maintenance. So we will not need all of that for the tax administration software. And that's something we will be discussing at budget, you know, what we want to use those technology funds for. The changes in fund balance, and Miranda, when she was here last week, talked about this in our general fund. This is the general basic and supplemental combined. That excess deficiency of revenues over expenditures, that's our decrease in the fund balance. We increased the general fund balance $494,000 this year, ending with $18,604,000. In mental health, we had a decrease of $736,000. They have been doing a planned reduction in our fund balance. They have their local funds for the 22 counties, and then they have their combined. I believe they want to keep the 25% in the local. We are down now with this reduction. We're down to $739,000, and that only represents about 12% of our operating expenditures. So that's lower than where we want to be. And so I plan to discuss that with Karin and Bob at budget to see how they want to approach that. In the rural services, we did decrease our fund balance $177,000, but our ending fund balance of almost $1.5 million is still sufficient in that fund, above the 25% of operating expenditures. Secondary roads, we increased our fund balance $232,000. We have been, over the past several years, increasing the secondary roads fund balance, so we are now up to $4,601,000. Another topic that we can, during budget, to discuss where we want that fund balance to be, and if we want to use any of that fund balance for capital projects. In the debt service, we have a fund balance of $3.5 million. Capital projects, we spent $3.6 million total in this fiscal year, and bringing that down to almost $2.4 million. Those are just bond proceeds, except for the technology fund, which has the $500,000 that we put in there, designated for the tax administration software. And then in our other governmental funds, and that includes the Friends of Hartman, is about 1.7 million. So we have a total fund balance of just slightly over 33 million.
Susan, what percentage is that?
Right here, the total combined general fund balance is 46.2% of the operating fund expenditures, operating general fund expenditures. And this is just the general fund. I don't have it on the total, but in the general fund, the combined general fund balance was 46.2%. The unassigned fund balance was 38.1%. As Miranda mentioned last week, the GFOA recommends that we have between 3 to 5 months, which is 25% to 42% of operating expenditures. And so we are at the high end of that range. And then that is something also to discuss during budget, where we want to, we've had a target in our policy of 25%, maintaining above that, but where we want to have, maintain those fund balance ratios in the general fund. Do you have any questions on the audit or the financials from?
Just want to thank you, Susan, for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
I think I mentioned too earlier, I said I was prepared to look for questions, and I turned the page and the questions would be answered, so thank you for a very thorough report.
Next on the agenda is receive project
So
updates
moved.
from department heads and elected officials.
They're in minutes.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer.
Morning.
Just a brief overview of the roads. They're all in good condition this morning. Crews are out with the motor graders and cutting brush. And Susan did mention the Cedar Wapsie Bridge replacement project. The Iowa Department of Transportation is opening bids this morning at 10 a.m. on that project. We've had some interest, some questions about our bid package, so we're hoping that we get some good competition. And we should know later today what the bids are.
What was the estimated cost?
I believe about $6 million.
6 million.
But I can email you those results later today or tomorrow. Can I answer any questions?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other department heads? Moving on to minutes approved for December
So moved.
11th and 13th.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have a hearing coming up at 9:05. It'll be at the end of the meeting for ordinance number 77-221, rezone request by Mark Gunnarsson. Next on the agenda is consent agenda by resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion on any of the items. This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Bagsman?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Leyland?
Yes.
Little?
Yes.
White?
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is proclamations. This resolution at the January 20th, 2019 to the 26th of January 2019 be proclaimed as School Choice Week in Blackhawk County.
I guess I'm not
Yeah.
prepared to vote on this. I was going to see if we could have some discussion on it, a little more discussion on it.
Yeah, I can't support this resolution. I looked into the national group behind it, which is called National School Choice Week, and I think they present themselves as being supportive of public schools in that email that they sent us all, but I don't think that's representative of the work that they do. It's really, I think, a national front for the school voucher movement to take support away from public schools and put it into private schools. And so I looked into the funders that are funding them, and it's the Waltons and the Koch brothers and all these anti-public school entities.
I do think, like I say, the email itself looked like it was, like I say, a very good supporting group, and wasn't nonpartisan. Or
They
was
do good
nonpartisan.
things. Yeah, they do good.
But they talked about the fact that they were promoting choice, and I think in everything that I researched, and it was not extensive by any means, but it was promoting policies that undermine public education, and not just supporting, I guess, all of the options.
Okay, then we'll just table it.
Moving on to reports, updates from Ben Delagardelle doing business as Urban Services, Washburn Sanitary Sewer. Morning, Ben.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Morning.
I have a little better news than I had last time I was here. Last time I was here was the middle of October to request, I believe I requested more pumps at that time, and we also decided I would go to the Washburn Association meeting, which I attended with Craig. I believe the meeting there was successful in separating the wastewater system from the rainwater, and my attempt to inspect, to keep those separate, and why we keep those separate. Since then, we've done 9 house inspections and found 4 non-compliant houses. 5 were in compliance at the time. 3 of those 4 are now in compliance, and I haven't followed up on one that I will be following up here shortly. There's one person who voluntarily called and said we have water coming into, it's a sewage pit, it's separated, but it has a crack or leak of some kind. We're waiting until it's slowed down a little bit. We're going to try and get them some help, but obviously at their financial expense. There's a silicone you can put in and seal that up while it's wet. I just didn't want to do it while it was gushing in. So kind of some miscellaneous notes there on those inspections. But back in November, we had 0 service calls, whereas in October, with all the rain, we had 16 service calls. So it slowed down quite a bit. We have had 2 in December here, but thankfully it got cold and froze, helped us out a little bit. But it seems like the town's drying out. I'm not sure how long after that meeting the water was out of the ditches, but I think a good message was given at the meeting, and I haven't had too many negative interactions throughout that whole process. A lot of people are welcoming to have the inspections done and have called back and bothered me when I forgot to call this guy back, go inspect his basement. So I appreciate the cooperation from the residents on that.
Was there any records kept the last time we did that to see if there are repeat violators?
I didn't follow up with the city inspector office. I could do that. And my plan of action going forward was to, anytime I had a service call, the houses connected to that pump are going to get inspected, no matter whether I was there 3 months ago or if I was there 5 years ago, if we were there 10 years ago. I feel that it's a good way to ensure we don't have a reconnection, something that got missed last time, and it also will help us make sure that another problem's not going to occur because of an illegal connection or something going in that shouldn't be.
See, some of them are just simply flipping a valve.
Right.
You leave, the valve goes the other way.
Right. And that's also an illegal connection. We just have to keep everything separate. So we can't assume someone's going to take a shower at home, switch their valves back every single time. They may not be home when it starts to rain or starts to run in that fashion. So I think that with your approval, I would probably inspect every house every time we have on a connection, every time we have a service call. I do know that we've gone to replace pumps 6 months after we've replaced one, and we probably should do a lot better job of recording that and following up, so we're not back there in 6 months. These pumps should last a lot longer than that. So, Is it okay with everyone if we were to do that? Okay.
Please do.
Any other questions regarding the October situation? I can get into my normal update. Okay. So in October, we had our discharge from the lagoon as normal. We do that every 6 months. Monitor the daily flows of the lagoon and the lagoon levels. We had two water samples that were taken. We take one the 3rd day of the discharge and 3 to 5 days before the end of the discharge. We did the MOR for September in October. We did lagoon mowing, which normally we don't do in October. It was nice and wet, and usually it's dried out by then, so we want to keep it looking nice. We had the 16 service calls and 1 locate in October. I attended the special meeting. We did the house inspections for the sump pump hookups. We also did the checking the pumps and the stations throughout the system in October. That's all I have for October. Any questions on that? Yep. And then in November, since I guess this is the November update, so I wasn't here at the end of October I'm sorry, I didn't come in November to update for October. Monitor the daily flows in November, monitor equalization. That was a 26-day equalization. We exercised the lagoon valves in town. We had 0 service calls and 5 locate for utilities. We did do 2 house inspection follow-ups for compliance. Currently sit with 12 good pumps ready to use, 3 extremes and 9 are 2000 series. We have 5 pumps that need to be tested and rebuilt. So I feel like we have around 16 or 17 pumps to go. Sitting pretty good on that to start 2019. Any other questions about the Washburn sewer system? Okay, a couple of more things that I would mention here in the spring. We haven't done this for a few years, but we do what's called sludge judging. We go and measure the depth of the sludge at the bottom of the lagoon. We just take a little john boat out there and we measure quite a few places out there. Last time we did it was between 10 and 14 inches, so I just want to make sure we're not getting too deep out there. I don't remember the last time we did it. It may have been 4 or 5 years ago, but it's a good idea to check and make sure we're not getting too deep out there. And then at some point in this lagoon's lifespan, that will need to be dredged out. So that's can be between $60,000 to $100,000 at that time. So just keep that in mind with the budget. I want to make sure that we know that that's could be coming up here in the next 5 to 10 years, still down the road, but it's expense that is just a maintenance thing that has to happen with lagoons. So when that time comes, we'll start looking into it, but we'll know a lot more in the spring when we do our sludge judging. And that's basically all we have going on in Washburn. So any questions?
When you mention it could be too deep, what is too deep?
Well, I don't know the exact percentages, but I would say we have about an 8-foot capacity in there, and when you get up to 30% of that, you're really limiting yourself on how many months worth of storage capacity you have in there. So the bottom, I would say if we get up to 24, 26 inches, we're going to have to start looking at maybe doing it before it gets to 30 inches, in there. So I'll do a little more research on that and get you a for sure number on where we should be at for percentage. But it does hold more water as it rises. So the top 4 feet hold a lot more than the bottom 4 feet because of the angle of the lagoon banks. But it's just something that I want to put out front so we know that could be coming up. So.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Next on the agenda is the resolution that the lowest reasonable bid received from Hawkeye Alarm Company, Waterloo, Iowa, for the courthouse panic alarm system with a bid of $4,000 with an annual monitoring fee of $300 per year be approved as recommended by Rory Geving, Maintenance Superintendent.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on this item? Anything you want to add, Rory? Mr. Geving?
Good morning, Rory Geving, Maintenance Superintendent. This is a much needed update to our panic alarm system. The current system is a very antiquated system, which is a direct feed over to our 911 dispatch center. With this update, some of the nice features that we will see from this are annunciators, which we do not currently have, but this annunciator would allow our security guards here on site to be able to see where that panic alarm is coming in from, which we do see a good benefit from that. We would also have one of these annunciators in our office as well. So that is 2 very positive benefits that we see from this system. This essentially what this system would do and how it's different from what we currently have. This would actually go out to a central monitoring station, very similar to many of your, I guess I'll call them burglar alarms throughout the town. They go to third-party monitoring stations. That's what this station would do. We do believe that that will make it more reliable and sustained for a longer period of time. So, any questions on that?
I have a motion and a second on the floor. This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes.
Little.
Yes.
Eichmann.
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Under other business, we have a resolution that the following exemption to be made to the Blackhawk County's policy for donation of paid leave for catastrophic illness starting December 19th, 2018 and running through June 19, 2019, a county employee may specify to Human Resource Department in writing the amount to be paid time off, vacation, or sick to be donated to an employee of Consolidated Communication Center.
So move.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on this item? This is a resolution. Please answer your name and call.
Debbie?
Good morning. This is Debbie Bunger, Human Resources Director.
Go ahead.
I would just like to say that our policy has changed a lot since there was another time where an exception was made. And it actually works really well. And we just recently have had to utilize it for another employee who ended up getting enough donations to take them through the time they needed. So asking for this exception, we have not seen the policy be implemented yet as it stands. And we can only extend somebody's leave by 12 weeks in addition. So this allows for like 6 months, which we wouldn't allow anymore. We do have pretty generous sick leave policies.
I think it's just, it works well as an exception, just like it was the last time
Yep.
to the policy.
We're all part of the family, so we should take care of one another. That's my thoughts.
Oh, well, definitely, and I know, like you said, compassionate for the
Oh, yeah,
for the
some
staff.
people don't have that anymore.
Well, they don't, but I guess my question is just that, I guess I was curious as to, and I know there's no one here presenting for it, as to why we didn't try the policy first.
Well, that was my only concern. It's like, I think before an exception is granted, can we try the policy and let it work first? And then if there's still a problem and the employee needs more, then we could look at an exception. My concern is just making an exception without actually attempting to let the policy work.
If they need more, we take care of them.
Well, and that's what I think we'll do by seeing if the policy works first and then granting the exception if
I'm sure it
the
will
policy
work. I
doesn't.
think there's enough people in this courthouse that care about their fellow employees to give time.
But that's not what's on the agenda. What's on the agenda is exception to
Is
the
to make an
policy.
exception. But that's what I'm thinking as well, that people will take care of it without the exception, and if not, then we take advantage of the exception. That was my question, Craig, is it's worked in previous departments apparently recently, and well, Debbie said, so why wouldn't we do it the same way and do that and just expect that we will have good results from that? And then if we don't, if we see that we don't, like you said, if we don't have compassion and show it in that way, then certainly, I don't know who asked for this, but whoever could ask again or request it from our HR department.
We know who asked for it, but it's not public information. There's HIPAA rules that regulate that.
Well, I don't know the individual I meant that made the request, but I just meant, I knew who it was for, but yes, I didn't want to discuss
It's a
that.
county employee that's sick.
Yes.
That needs help.
And I'd like the opportunity, I thought, to use our policy and hope that it works. Then since it's been working, if it hasn't, then I think maybe we need to look at a different policy if we find out that it didn't work. But no, I think the compassion that the county will show, I think, for this individual, at least I'm thinking that with the policy in place, will accomplish that for them. Are you thinking we won't?
Oh,
Is
I
that
think
your
it will. But I think, I don't even think we need a policy like this. There should be people that are caring enough to take care of their fellow employee. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, and we shouldn't need an exception to policy because of,
No, and I think we're
with the
probably in agreement with that.
until it strikes a family, a personal, then you don't know what it's like.
No, but I think.
We've got a perfect example right in the courthouse that's come back to work and had people give her time. So, you know, it shows there are some people in here that are compassionate.
Yes,
And,
but that wasn't taking advantage of the exception. That was the policy was working in that case.
well, it could have led to a change, and I don't even, like I said, if we're just taking this too far.
Call for the question.
Yeah. This resolution, please answer. Your name is called.
Leyland,
No, because I'd like to see the policy tried first.
Little,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Schwartz,
I'd like to see the policy work too.
White,
Yes. Next is motion to appoint Amanda Fessenmeyer as the new Personnel Director for the Blackhawk County Civil Service Commission be approved.
So moved.
Second.
I have questions on where this time, how our time's going to be split, and is this leading to other people thinking that if they have extra time on their hands in the courthouse, that they'll be able to apply for something else?
Okay, so your question was on how my time would be split?
That's my first question.
Okay, so in speaking with our labor attorney, and also with the Civil Service Commission, and Debbie Bonger, HR Director, Sheriff Thompson, there's two ways that it could be split. I'm in an exempt status, so my time could be flexed. So therefore, if there would need to be a test administered on a Saturday, there's time that I could flex throughout the week in order to attend that 4-hour testing timeframe. The other option would be to separately pay for that amount while I'm administering those tests. That would come out of the sheriff's budget, I believe.
I believe that's how it should be done. That'd be the proper way, I think. My thoughts. And the second part of it, isn't there some things about HIPAA rules, or, you know, the stuff that you'd be dealing with that should it be kept here, or where is it going to be kept?
So yes, there are records that will be retained. Those will be retained on site. They can be retained in the sheriff's office or HR. The Human Resources Office currently maintains medical records on all employees. We have to have a very high level of confidentiality. So that would just be in line with how our department handles all employee records.
Is there any estimated amount of time, you know, that you're going to spend on this from past history? I know it deals with how often they pull up a civil service board. Any idea whatsoever?
So I did take a look at Chris Ping's time card in the past year. This included time that she spent filing, mailing out the test, organizing the test, administering a test. It looked to be about 80 hours.
For the year?
A year, yep, and that includes even administering the test, which she had 2 exams, I believe, called on a Saturday.
Was last year, or you're talking about last year?
Yeah, looking at it from the past year.
Was that a busy year? I mean, there's sometimes we don't even have any.
In comparison to previous years, I don't,
The year before was 40 hours. And then the year before that was about 92 hours.
And as a department, you don't have any problem with that?
It allows for that, those duties to be assigned to a county employee, and I think it's a good.
any other questions?
Any other questions?
Is this a one-time or yearly appointment?
I believe it's a one-time.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't think you reappoint
Okay.
Chris each year, so.
Till you resign.
Right, or if something, right,
Or should
that is
we
not
use-
fitting.
Good job. Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. This is a resolution that the tax sale certificate assignment for the vacant lot parcel 891324-284-041 located in Waterloo pursuant to 44.6.31 of the Code of Iowa be approved, and said certificate of purchase of tax sale assigned to Gregory A. Bagsby with a tax sales assignment fee of $222 per parcel as recommended by Rita Schmidt, County Treasurer.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Rita, you got anything you want to add to this?
It's just straight.
The tax sale is all they're doing.
This is a resolution. Please answer. Your name is called.
Little,
Yes.
Weitzman,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next, a resolution to approve funding for the new countywide public safety software system to be utilized by county police, fire departments, county attorney's office, first responders, and ambulances with a cost not to exceed $3 million with the understanding that the E911 Service Board will reimburse the county between $2 million and $2.5 million, and that the E911 Service Board will seek additional funding sources to cover the costs in excess of that amount.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
I guess
Somebody
I'm
want to speak on this?
there's certainly public safety individuals here that can speak on this, but I believe that it's important that they have the ability to move forward with their contracts and to so that they know that they have the funds available in the future, so when they let the contracts, the people bidding on it will know it's been funded.
Good morning, Board. It's important to note that when I sent you this email, it was actually in response to our last time meeting about a month and a half ago, in an effort to keep you abreast and give you more information. That's why it's long and dissertative in nature. I didn't necessarily intend to have it back on the agenda, though I'm very happy that it is, because as I indicated at the beginning of this month, the 911 Board elected to go ahead and release the RFP, which means at this point everything starts rolling. We've got a list of vendors about 3 pages deep of people that are currently working and responding to that RFP. We've been working for over a year and a half now with Delta Works, the consultants in this project, to help identify our needs, qualify what it is that we need, what it is we don't need, and who should be on those preferred vendors list. Because of that letting of that RFP, I think that it's important that we recognize that there is a funding stream, that there is support, that there is a recognition of the sincere need for this effort to moving forward, and that's why you've got representatives of the 911 Board, the Consolidated Communications Board, and the CGIS Board here before you this morning. I outlined a whole lot in that email, kind of the history over the past 30 years, as well as many of the pitfalls and many of the problems that are now presenting themselves and have been presenting themselves for probably the last 10 years. We're to a point now where the dysfunction is significant enough that over the last 3 years we've been working to get to this point. And so at this point, obviously, the 911 Board can't generate funds like is necessary to be able to fund this. So we're looking for that support and partnership moving forward. We do recognize that Susan's estimates of $2 to $2.5 million being able to repatriate those funds probably is a little conservative, especially if we're able to pay down the cost to begin with and negotiate a fair price for the package that we're looking at. I was at Gilbertville City Hall meeting with their city council last night, and Beth Knipp from the Gaming Association was there making a presentation. And when they went around the room and introduced everybody, she said, "Oh no, I know the sheriff. We're wrestling right now." So that fight will continue with them, and we'll try and encourage their consideration of partnership in this project as well. And certainly, as I indicated in the email, I'm open to any and all other options, to include bake sales, giving blood, whatever it's going to take to make this happen. But it is important. It's one of those things. It's a project that the citizens expect viability of their public safety, and this is the backbone of our public safety delivery system here in Blackhawk County. What questions do you have of me?
I'd say I know when I was voting to agree to fund the study to put the RFP that I thought my intention was that we were going to need to probably fund part of this, and I don't think that we need a governmental entity holding bake sales to keep our people safe. So.
Thank you.
Well, I think I replied to you as well. You answered my questions as well, and even more. I think this is just one, and like I said, I don't know if you'd be able to answer it today too, but you mentioned capability now really limits what we are able to address as far as the needs. And I think you gave us the number of the 2,054 open records, and if there was one more, how that shut everything down. The capability for this Nexus, the system that you're looking at now, is there
unlimited?
Just unlimited. Okay.
That's one of the reasons why we recognize that the partnership that we have with the current vendor of the software and the data management system that we have, we're outside of their market range. We've outgrown them, but they started here in Blackhawk County. They're out in Virginia now, but they started here in partnership with us. So our system grew with them, and we were kind of their crash test dummies for all the patchwork and all of the Band-Aids that they did. They started with us. And so that's been very beneficial, and I don't mean to poo-poo their system whatsoever. It's just the fact that as technology has increased, as we have grown as a county, as each agency has grown and added more software, more technology, more officers, there's a lot of needs not being met where fire service, EMS services have to use third-party software. That just shouldn't be happening. And again, those are Band-Aids to what truly is the fix, and the fix is to have an encompassing system that everybody can read and write and have access to and utilize so that we can all equally share in information. One of the biggest reasons why we've grown so exponentially is when we introduced mobile data computers into the car. That's an officer safety piece. And wouldn't it be nice to be able to know the picture of the bad guy that's wanted when you approach the car on the traffic stop, to be able to have that data in your car? I artificially increased that because Dunkerton, LaPorte City, those outlying agencies, Gilbertville, they didn't have access to that before. Hudson, and now they do. County Conservation Park Rangers, another example. So what we're looking at is a little more robust system with a company that operates on a higher platform than what our current company operates on.
Well, I want to thank you also for approaching the Blackout Gaming early in this process.
We're still working with them.
Yes.
We'll make inroads.
That was something that we thought might be possibility, but
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments they want to add to it? This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Maxman,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next, a resolution to retroactively approve the application submitted by the Board of Supervisors for Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Improvement Act grant through Iowa State.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is a resolution. Please answer your name is called.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Maxman,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is a resolution that the appointment of Jane Hartley and Garth Goodrich as deputy recorders effective January 2nd, 2019 be approved. And direct the chair to sign the same for as recommended by Sandy L. Smith, county recorder.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on these? This resolution, please answer your name is called.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Maxman,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. This resolution at the appointments of Pete Burke, Steve Hallbach, Mike Trainin, James Ketcher, Michelle Wagner, Jeremy Wessendorf, Kimberly Griffith, Christy Sullivan, Darius Robinson, Elizabeth O'Donnell, Kathleen Hawn, Molly Edwards, and Yeshi Obibi, and Michael Hudson, effective January 2nd, 2019, be approved and direct the chair to sign for second as recommended by Brian Williams, county attorney.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on any of these people? This resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Little, Little,
Yes.
Maxman,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next, this is a hearing of proposed ordinance number 77-221, Gunderson rezone. Motion to receive and place on file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Motion to waive the first reading as notice was published December 7th, 2018 in the Waterloo Courier.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Motion to close the hearing after oral or written comments are received and placed on file. Any oral comments or written comments?
No, sir.
You're upset.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll just having technical difficulties. I'll just go straight to the report. The Planning and Zoning Commission at its regular meeting on November 20th, 2018, reviewed a request by Mark J. Gunderson to rezone 2.44 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural Residential District to allow for the construction of one new single-family home at 11842 Gibson Road, which is adjacent to the West Eagle Road and Gibson Road intersection. The site is also 2,200 feet away from unincorporated Voorhees. The request to rezone 2.44 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural Residential District to build one single-family home. It was moved by Festenmeyer and second by Sack to approve the request to rezone 2.44 acres from A Agricultural District to AR Agricultural Residential District in order to build a new single-family home. Motion carried unanimously. The rezone area is currently zoned agricultural. It consists of trees and pasture. The surrounding area consists of agricultural lands with some rural home and is zoned A Agricultural District. None of the land to be rezoned is located in a floodplain. The site did have a land evaluation score of 94 and Lisa score of 263. The property main parcel has a Lisa score of 263 out of 300, which is considered a high agricultural site. Zoning ordinance does note that the land that is classified as having high agricultural value should be strongly discouraged for development in almost every case. It also states that these sites are reserved for agricultural activities and protected from urban development or urban use encroachment. However, the ordinance also states that under very unique circumstances are these sites to be developed, and only after compelling evidence is provided. The zoning ordinance lists several criteria that should be considered unique, compelling evidence. They are as follows. Area has not been in active row crop, perdition, or CRP for the last 15 years. Areas conducive to the production by reason of parcel shape and size. Areas compatible with surrounding uses of similar adjacent uses. Meeting any one of these criteria should not constitute approval, as each request will be reviewed and evaluated on its own merits. The applicant noted that more than half of the rezone area is timber, and pasture area has not been farmed since the 1980s. In addition, there is an unnamed stream that separates the rezoned area from the neighboring farmland to the north. Of the rezone areas, existing acreage with single-family home and multiple farm buildings. The proposed rezone area is not located in the Waterloo Airport Use and Overlay District. Heiberg and Brennan noted the high Lisa score of 263. Heiberg indicated that the majority of the rezone area is trees. The pasture has not been farmed since the 1980s. And there's a stream behind the tree line that would make pasture area more difficult to farm to the west. And that's the staff report. So the map would show that half the area is timber, and then the other area over is pasture. And there's kind of like a farm building and outbuildings just to the north of the site. The Zoning and Planning Commission approved it, indicating that there was criteria, that allowed for, prime farmland to potentially be rezoned.
Thank you, Seth.
You're very welcome. Any questions?
How much of the timber area do they plan on preserving?
I don't think they, is the applicant, oh, here. Okay, sorry.
This is Mark Gunnarsson. I believe there's enough area in front of the timber or east of the timber to be able to build and then keep the mature timber. That would make the acreage quite unique, I guess, and be able to conserve that, is my understanding.
Okay, excellent.
You got city water?
Well, rural water. We're on Iowa Regional or
So
IU.
what's your closest fire hydrant? There isn't one?
Yeah, it's an acreage, so.
Thank you. Motion to close the hearing.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. This resolution to suspend the rules requiring the Board of Supervisors consider and vote to propose ordinance 2 prior meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? This resolution, please answer your name is called.
Magsman,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. This is an ordinance, adoption that ordinance amending ordinance number 36 be amended.
Second.
This resolution, please answer your name is called.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Magsman,
Yes.
White.
Yes, resolution adopted. Next is the canvass. This resolution to certify the outcome of the votes cast in Duncan School District, Apple election held Tuesday, December 11th, 2018, in accordance with the Iowa Code 40.24.
Mr. Chair, there were no provisional ballots that were received and not counted.
Thank you.
We're all going to fight for it.
Right over it.
Go for it, buddy.
One
Very
person
well.
in Dunkerton and the House is
Shouldn't take very long.
for you guys to start signing if you want.
Sure.
Outside.
I've already
00.
Pardon me?
These are all things I need to sign.
This one?
Okay.
Absentees.
Didn't recognize you with your hair down when you walked in.
Yeah, it's done. What do you want this time?
What's, oh. What's the other one? Let's see, is this in the book? Is this this?
Yeah.
Okay. 4-6,
4-6.
check.
Should have had Greg or Frank do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. you
I'm
could-
pretty, I'd be too slow.
You could,
Might not get done by the end of your term.
Still be here at 4 o'clock. We have to meet.
This is a resolution to certify the outcome.
So moved.
Second?
This resolution, please answer your name as called.
Leyland?
Yes.
Little?
Yes.
Banksman?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
White?
Yes, resolution adopted. Any reports or information from the board? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned.